It sends a psychological signal to the Russians that the Americans are still in this for the long haul, which they've always said they are. And indeed, that's the same message which has been coming from NATO.
Now, to Ukraine, where American officials have said the US has approved sending F-16 fighter jets to this conflict to combat Russian forces as soon as a European pilot training program is complete. One, how soon are they going to arrive? How soon will we see them in Ukraine? And two, how significant a moment is this?
Well, to address the second point first, the four factors of success in 20th century warfare were control of the air, shock, surprise, and offensive recce. The tension we have at the moment in the offensive of the Ukrainians is that the Russians control the air and the offensive recce can't get through the trench systems and fortifications very easily. So they will be really important in changing that dynamic. They won't be there quickly. The first group of six pilots plus two reserves will complete their F-16 training not before, at the moment, next summer. And that's partly to do with fluency of language and conversion. And just mentioning an airframe, the F-16, doesn't necessarily give you the capability. It's the integration of the weapon systems, the pilot, the logistics, and the maintenance of the system. So there are a lot out there. So Lockheed Martin, for example, in America, there are 1,015 F-16s in storage, which could be brought back into service, modernized, and sent to Ukraine. But the training pipeline is really the caveat on getting them there in short order. So will we see them arriving this fighting season up to when the rains come? I don't think we will.
President Biden and the White House were reluctant to give these jets to Ukraine to begin with. What changed?
Well, you always need more capability in Ukraine. Otherwise, you've got an asymmetry between one side and the other. And that asymmetry in the air is there at the moment. And all these things in terms of the Ukrainian conflict have gone through four phases where each capability that we've given them either tanks or long-range artillery and rocket systems has gone through this no. Then secondly, we'll talk about it. Thirdly, we'll train, which is what's happening at the moment. And fourthly, we'll deliver. It sends a psychological signal to the Russians that the Americans are still in this for the long haul, which they've always said they are. And indeed, that's the same message which has been coming from NATO, because, of course, it's both internal politics, alliance politics, and perceptions of Russia, which really matter in bringing this war at some stage to a conclusion. And the conclusion is either by decisive military victory or the improbability of victory, which leads to peace talks, or because the cost to each of the two countries is so great that they decide to go for some sort of negotiated settlement.
What do you think is most likely, looking at the conflict now?
Well, that really, to answer that, you have to say what is a winnable war or what is an unlosable war. So this war, from a NATO and Western perspective, and particularly from a Ukrainian perspective, because it is existential for them that Russia would like to see Ukraine not exist in the future. So I think that if we can keep Ukraine in the game, and with the impacts on Russia in terms of the longer term impacts on their economy, the way that the ruble has been falling this week, and the societal shifts which will go on in Russia and the elite splits which we first saw with Prigozhin, then Ukraine should triumph. So I don't think we are going to have any notion of a negotiated settlement in 2023, and it's unlosable for the rest, because if you let Russia achieve its grand strategic objectives here, then you alter the balance of what the rule of law, the UN Charter, and international politics is all about.